So almost every video I've seen of The Walking Dead, especially season 1, has always started with,
I remember when this came out in 2010. Every single family member came and watched this together. And we did that every week. People came over every week to do it.
and I believe it. It's not to make fun of that, but I was not one of those. When this came out in 2010, I was 9 years old. I had no clue what I was doing. I was probably out eating my own boogers and putting sand up my butt. I had no clue that The Walking Dead was even a show. I am now, 15 years later, watching it for the first time and talking to you about it. But before we get into that, are you kidding my ass? The last video I uploaded got over 2,000 views, and it's not that much that, but it's more the reception on the video. It got a lot of comments, and it was nice comments, and people really had fun with that video, and I'm just so grateful for it. I think it's one of the first times where it actually felt like being like a YouTuber, and if you know me and know me in real life, you know that being a YouTuber is such a big dream for me. So, or just the whole thing is just such a nice thing, and it got a lot of likes and a lot of nice comments, so thank you so much for that. It's only the start, and I will not dwell on that for too long, but so thank you for that. How the channel will go forward, I will also quickly say that this last video is not the style of video you'll see every time. I have learned that every single video you'll ever see of how to run a YouTube channel from the beginning will always tell you to niche down. But knowing myself and having tried that so many times, I love gaming, I love movies, I love series, I love football, I love being outside doing fun stuff, I love going to the gym, I love being with friends, all that stuff. I have so many like different hobbies, and I almost seem like I get a new hobby every single like month or like year, or so I cannot niche down. So if you subscribe to see that specific video over and over again that I uploaded last week, like going over different kinds of funny TikTokers, Instagrammers, or if you expect after this one to see a movie or series little review every single week or something like that, or me going over it, and you just think that's what you're expecting, you should not subscribe, because I will not be niching down to that much, like to any specific thing, because I just have come to know that I will just stop uploading at that point, because I'll be so fixated on what to do that I will just bore myself with it, if that makes sense. So in today's video, we're gonna talk about The Walking Dead, because I am such a geek when it comes to series and movies, and there's, funnily enough, so many good series. I have not seen also movies, of course, but also really, really many good series, and The Walking Dead was one of them. I have watched it. Season 1 I watched actually a little time ago, but I wasn't really uploading YouTube at this time. More specifically, maybe a month ago I started, so I had to go back, get the memories up. And my first introduction to The Walking Dead was actually not through the series. As said, I was out doing other stuff when I was 9. I was literally 9, so come on now. But my first was actually through one of the greatest games for me, because my first one was for The Walking Dead, the Telltale games, with Lee and Clementine, all that stuff, and that is still, for me, one of my favorite ever games, because that's really one of the first games where I remember actually caring about the characters a lot, like a lot. I wanted to save Clementine, but all my life, I would probably give my own real life to just save her in the game. I loved it, like, I just did everything to protect that little girl, and of course Lee, rest in peace, my brother. That was my first introduction to it, and then a little time ago, my best friend told me he had seen The Walking Dead, the series, what we're going to talk about now, and he said you have to watch it. It's really good. You just have to. And I was like, okay, and it took me a little time to still get started. And then one day I was just sitting rolling on a Danish streaming service that's called Viaplay, and it had it, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna start. And here I am, having started that series. And another big thing to why I didn't start, or why I was hesitant, because how can I love series and stuff that much and not having started probably one of the biggest series of all time? Like, it's probably the most known series of all time. Like, my parents knows what it is, my dead grandparents knows what it is, just because everybody knows what The Walking Dead is. At least people will know that it's about zombies, if that makes sense. So probably one of the biggest series of all time I haven't watched. And why have I not done that? It's because when I know a series has a decline or has a big fall off, I have such a hard time starting it. I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I know the decline The Walking Dead series will have. So I have such a hard time actually starting the season once I know that, or starting even though I know the start will be great for a long time, I will still have such a hard time, because I know that at some point I will just watch what I will probably grow to love just go down the drain. I started nevertheless, and that's actually also the reason I've never watched Game of Thrones, which I will probably have to if we keep doing these videos, which I do think we will do. So yeah, I did think about doing this episode by episode, but I'm just not that type of guy. You know, I don't like scripting my videos. I will mostly just put notes and then just go over it, because there's so many videos, great videos, absolutely amazing videos out there going over stuff like this episode by episode, plot by plot, and I just cannot do that. I don't really like doing that. Like, personally, I love seeing it, but I don't like doing that personally. I just love, you know, going through it, what I thought, who I liked in the videos, why I thought I liked this, why I didn't like that. This is the last time I'll go through all this about the channel. You know how I'm gonna run the channel, what kind of videos you could expect to see, which is everything. This is the last time I'll do it, but it's just, I feel like I just gained a lot of subscribers off that one last videos. A lot, you know, I gained, I don't know actually, I think like over 50, 45 maybe. I just wanted to say you're subscribing for me and not particularly like that style of video. Let's move on. I did not want to go episode by episode. The funny thing is I say that, but I will break that rule straight from the off, because I will have to talk about the pilot of this series. This is the best pilot I have ever seen, and as said, there's a lot of series I haven't watched that probably could have better or as good a pilot as this. The only ones I could kind of come up with that I have seen is probably a series like Chernobyl, because that had like that whole series is just amazing, and that had a great pilot. Breaking Bad, I know a lot of people will say that that's a mid pilot, but I think the reason you say that is because the series in itself is probably the greatest series of all time. So you don't see the pilot as being that good just because of how good the whole series is, but the Breaking Bad pilot is actually also insane. And then I have Invincible actually up there, just because of the plot twist at the end, which will have you be like, what's going on here? But I will not break that for you, because if you haven't watched Invincible, go do it. Come on now. Those were only 3 things I've watched that had a really good pilot, but this has a better pilot. This just sets the tone with Rick, our protagonist, having to literally kill a little girl in the first sequence. Like, the first scene we see is Rick, our main protagonist, having to kill a little zombie girl. I did not see that coming at all. Then the rest of the episode is just amazing. It sets the tone, and it's just the whole world being like having gone to shit is shown in such a good way. You really feel it. And the first episode, everything is just laid out very, very, you know, standard stuff. Rick gets shot, put in a coma. He has to now find his wife and son in this zombie infested world he wakes up in. It's all crazy stuff. He really does have the worst day of his entire life. As said, I'll not go through all the plot, because if you're watching this video, you probably already know the plot. And in the first episode, we also get to know that Shane, which is Rick's best friend and his partner, like police partner, Rick is a policeman with Shane, is cheating on him with his wife because they thought he was dead, because Rick wakes up for this coma a month later. And also that is insane. Like, that is insane. That first episode is just insane. That's what I want to get out of this little thing right here. That first episode is a banger. So much stuff is set up, and just so fucking good. Like, that first episode is insane. It really, I also told my parents actually after, I was like, because my parents also was a bit hesitant to watch something like The Walking Dead because of zombies. I just think some people is just not into that zombies, because they just feel like the whole thing will just be about zombies and there will be no like real story or drama. And I said to them, you know what? Sit down, watch the first episode and see what happens. And I promise you watch the rest of the season at least. And now they are probably at like season 3, I think. So that just shows that's first. Don't watch the first episode if you don't want to watch the rest of at least the season, because you cannot stop. Like, it's so good in my opinion. But after this first episode, we get to meet a lot of the characters, and I will say that in this series, the best thing about the series is the characters. The best thing about the season is the series is the characters, and how fleshed out for me they all seem to be. It really felt like I knew every single character in this story. Like, every single character felt like they had their own thing, and they felt like you were put through it. And of course there was some weird characters. Someone, can you remember his name? Give me 2 seconds. Yeah, there was someone called Jim, and there was also some other lady, I can't really remember what her name was. They end up dying in this first season, so that's probably the reason why. But the characters that doesn't die in this season is so well fleshed out, and I especially liked, of course, Rick and Glenn. Big shock, I know. And I loved Shane. I think John Berthenol, or what is he called? Something like that. Berthenthal. That's a really hard name in Danish to try and say, but he is killing it in this role. And I know that Andrew Lincoln, who plays Rick, gets a lot of praise, and John also does. He should get more. Like, he is so good in that Shane role. In my opinion, it's insane. So I really liked him, and I also liked Dale. And funnily enough, I actually also liked Andrea. I was really like invested in her as well. So not only because of you know. but she was actually also a really good character for me. So definitely came out from this season really liking those characters. But even the characters you don't really like, because you know they are likable characters, but someone like Merle, the guy that Rick chains to the top of the roof and just leaves. Merle is of course a horrible character in the sense that he's just fucking irritating. But even him I like, you know, you feel like you know him, you feel like he's fleshed out, stuff like that. Of course, the thing you see with him. And his brother Daryl, which is Daryl kind of will be the most important, probably is the most important person in this whole series. Not the first season, in this whole series. So up there at least. That's the first time we meet him. Yeah, the rest of the season, it's actually it's a lot of subplots. It's Rick finding his family now, they being a group like with all the other people I just talked about. He doesn't get to know that Shane and Laurie has been cheating on him, and you know, I love that and I hate it at the same time, but it's smart because you just wait for that big moment where Rick finally gets to know that Shane literally has fucked his wife. You just wait and wait and wait, and it doesn't even happen this season. It doesn't even happen this season. It happens in season 2. Yes, I have watched forward. I've watched a lot forward. I'm a lot forward actually. So yeah, it's just a lot of subplots. There's one subplot I will have to say I don't really like, and that is Glenn being taken hostage. And that is not the problem. The problem is he's being taken hostage by some people running an old people's home in I don't know. The whole thing was just weird for me, and that was the first time where I really got taken a little bit out of this season. I don't know if that was just me or I misinterpreted something, and it was just not my favorite thing. The whole little plot where they were running an old people's home and they were just trying to protect them. I get that. You can see that Rick is a policeman. He probably wouldn't really do anything to the old people in there, but I don't know. The whole thing was just weird, and there's probably things I miss, but because it's a little while ago I watched it, but didn't really like that. And then there's the last episode, and yes, I have glossed over a lot, but at this point Rick and the whole group is just a group, and they're trying to get to a place, CDC, where they think there will be a cure for this whole thing. And this last episode, I remember watching it and feeling that the first and the last episode definitely was the best episodes of that season. And I don't know how they're rated in IMDb, stuff like that, I can't remember. But those were different. Of course, the first one is the best, but then the last episode is also the best, because in the last episode, the first time where all our group that we're rooting for are in a place where everything seems like a little normal. They get beds, they get books to read, they get like things to do. They have alcohol, so they actually throw a little party-ish stuff like that, and it all seems to be kind of normal. But then the doctor, the doctor who's taking them in actually reveals to them that there is no cure for this. There is no cure for this. Once you're bitten and, you know, have the infection, have the virus, you will become a zombie. And Rick actually gets whispered something in his ear. But if you're watching this, I will make these videos like season wise, and I'll not tell you what he gets told, because maybe you have just watched season 1 like I have and are watching this video, and I don't want to tell you what he gets told. But yeah, he gets told a little serious thing in this. And basically season ends with the whole CDC building getting blown up, because yeah, the doctor basically sets up a little time bomb where the whole CDC building shows up, and at this point you really accept that there will never be a world without zombies, and our characters do so as well. There'll never be a world without it. And actually at this point where Andrea actually wants to just stay in there to just die because she doesn't want to live in that world, and Dale kind of forces her out, forces her hand, forces her to go out of that, which will be very important in season 2. So I don't want to go too much into that. At the end of the day, I just absolutely did love this season, and I was hooked, and I think I watched it all in maybe 1.5 day. I watched it like all just I couldn't stop it. Such a good season. And you know what, I will actually give it stars. I will give all my things I watched stars. There's one thing I did write to my best friend, who told me to watch this straight after, you know, what I felt like that, and I said to him, I really liked it. I loved it actually, but I didn't watch it feeling like I was watching a masterpiece. I did think there was a little filler in there and a little stuff I didn't like. You know, sometimes when you watch stuff, you just know you're watching something incredibly wild. You know, something like Arcane. When I watched Arcane season 1, I knew I watched something amazing. I felt like I was watching something special, and it was. Also Arcane season 2, the exact same thing. And when I was watching this, I didn't really get that same feeling, and I said to him, I don't even think you could ever get me to get that feeling, because sadly, this is 15 years old, this series, and I am a I have been, not that much anymore, an avid TikTok scroller, an avid YouTube Shorts scroller, and since I like movies and series and stuff, I have seen a lot of clips from this series from seasons way in the future, so I do know a lot of stuff that happens, and I think there would have to happen some crazy shit in this season or in this series for me to have that feeling. So I'll not give it 5 stars, but I'll give it 4 stars. Remember, this is not that well thought out. It's not that I sat being like, what did I give it? Maybe I could give it 4.5 stars, you know? Then nobody will be mad. It's not crazy thought about. Just calm down. It's just a random little rating. I'll give it 4.5 stars. You know what? I actually think I can do that because it's very rare I just go through a series like I did that one, and it was amazing. So you know what? 4.5 stars. I didn't give it 5 because I think there was some filler in that I didn't like. At least the hospital stuff. That's the first time where I actually found myself not really paying attention. Maybe answering some messages on my phone, stuff like that. So, but overall, everything else was absolutely banging. Like, I really did like it. I like the characters. Definitely the best part of the series for me is the characters and the group and how well thought out they are, and the dramas going on and stuff that we will get into when I talk about season 2, because that's where the real stuff kicks in, and we will get a little bit into who is still, I think, to be fully transparent with you, I am at season 5 now, I think, and I will keep making these videos up until I am where I actually am in real life, and then, because it's hard for me to go back and trying to remember everything, so it's easier for me to just make videos now coming up to where I am in real life, and then make a video every time I'm done watching a season, if that makes sense. So, but in season 2, I have a lot to say about season 2 as a first time watcher, so stay tuned for that one. If you like this video, like it, maybe subscribe if you're new here, and as said, if you expect something serious or movie review every single video, you should not subscribe, because it will be, you know, I have many hobbies, many things I want to make videos about. I will not say this every video. It's just so people get the point. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you liked it. And if I could make these movie series reviews that is off the cuff, and if it's just what I feel like saying at the moment, maybe a little bit better, feel free to put in the comments. And if what you feel about season 1, I would love to know. I would actually love to know. I love having conversations about series and movies and stuff like that. So please put it in the comments if you have anything to say, literally anything. So yeah, see you in the next video.